Good morning. I will go ahead and call the City of Findlay City Planning Commission meeting to order on Thursday, May 8th, 2025. At this time, we'll approve the prior meeting minutes from the April Commission meeting. Do I have any amendments to the minutes as circulated? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Very good. I guess I skipped. Oh, see, that's what happens when I didn't pull my agenda out. So we'll go ahead and do roll call and then the swearing in. Here.
Rob Martin,
Here.
Carrie Tremblay,
Here.
Jackie Schroeder,
Here.
Dan Klinger.
Here.
Very good. If anyone planning to speak for or against an item can please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Do you affirm that all the testimony and evidence you're about to give in a case before the commission this day will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and will conform to the facts of the case and the rules of this commission? This you affirm under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Very good. You may be seated. All right, back to the approval of the minutes. Did we have a motion and a second?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. We have no old items. We have one new item before the commission today. Item 1, amended application for site plan review SP-08-2024, filed by Kent Power Company to re-review the approved conditions for the drop yard at 1343 Greenwood Street. CPC staff comments.
This originally went through Planning Commission April of 2024. This request is located between Greenbrier Street and West Lima Avenue. The parcel zoned I-1 light industrial. The neighborhood to the south is zoned R3 small residential, small lot residential. It is not located in the floodplain. The City of Findlay land use plan designates the property as industrial. The applicant has submitted a site plan for a 230,000 square foot gravel drop yard. This drop yard would be for the use of Kent Power, who's a contractor for AEP. This site would store equipment, including pickup trucks, digger trucks, etc. It would also store the materials, including steel poles, wire, reels, insulators, and other miscellaneous material. They received approval for this plan in April with the following conditions. Work with engineering for stormwater detention, photometric sheet submitted to HRPC, minimum 6 foot high black chain link fence around the entire laydown area, paved driveway and parking area for employees, landscaping buffer along east, south, and southwest corner. Since they received approval, they had completed most of the conditions for approval. However, the condition for paving the driveway and parking area through has caused issues for the applicant. They sought a variance from the BZA, but were denied given that it was a condition from CPC. Staff met with the applicant and understand that paving the entire driveway could be burdensome for the applicant. Additionally, the applicant stated that AEP was originally giving 10-year contracts, and they felt more comfortable with a 10-year contract of putting that investment into the property. However, AEP has now gone to a year-to-year contract, so as much investment in the property may not be warranted. The drive to the entrance, the drive to the entrance of the drop yard is on the east end of the property, while the driveway extends the entire length of the lot. The drop yard is a fenced, gated area with only one access point. Having the applicant pave the entirety of the driveway did not make sense to the applicant, considering they would only be using a small portion of their operations. Staff has discussed using concrete grindings in the area that the applicant will be utilizing. This material, while not pavement, sticks together well and does reduce dust from traffic. So staff recommends approval of the amended application for site plan filed by Kent Power to re-review the approved conditions for the drop yard at 1343 Greenwood Street with the following conditions. Removal of the condition for the paving of the entire driveway, using concrete grindings for the Kent Power driveway and parking area. No Kent Power vehicles are permitted to utilize the east-west gravel driveway past the Kent Power storage area entrance. Engineering?
Jeremy's not able to be here today. Standard items, obviously, making sure that the appropriate access is maintained, water service and sanitary sewer is installed to spec. Stormwater management will be required based off of the lot size as well as MS4 requirements, given you're within the city limits and going to be disturbing over an acre of property. So the recommendations, conditional approval of the site plan, verify pre and post construction CN values, and make sure permits are obtained. Fire prevention.
No comment.
Very good. So the recommendation from staff to CPC board, approval of the amended application for site plan review SP-08-2024 filed by Kent Power Company to re-review the approved conditions for the drop yard at 1343 Greenwood Street with the following conditions. Removal of the condition for the paving of the driveway, use concrete grindings for the driveway and required parking area, and no Kent Power vehicles allowed to utilize gravel driveway past the Kent Power storage area entrance. Is the applicant here to speak or representative here to speak? Would you like to add any additional information? If you can, just make sure that the microphone is on, and please keep that close to your mouth as this is being live streamed.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing I would like to add is where they reference the concrete grindings, we're actually talking about asphalt grindings as opposed to concrete grindings. So that will have the asphalt in it, so that will tend to meld together as it heats up and gets compacted and so forth. So it'll make a fairly solid surface. So, other than that, yeah,
Do you have a pointer up there? And the only reason I ask is when we're looking at this, I just want to be very clear as we refresh our memories, like the whole east-west, how far,
Sure.
what the original proposal was, what we're proposing to do now. Like, so the shadowed area is the actual site, correct?
yes, this is the entire laydown area, the gravel area there. This is the east-west driveway that Matt was referring to. This is the entrance, and the only entrance into the drop yard is right here. So from the end of the asphalt here up to this drive and up into this parking area adjacent to the office, that would be asphalt grindings. This would remain gravel as it was before, and then this drive from here over, that will also remain gravel
In its current state.
in its current state.
Yeah. So in April 2024, Planning Commission required this to be paved. And so that's the main item, is not requiring them to pave this, correct, Todd?
Yes.
And
yes.
then the substitution of asphalt grindings for pavement. So those
So
are
if
the
you're-
two differences.
If you're not going to use, I need a pointer, sorry.
I can't help you.
Sorry. Saying, instead of just trying to go here, there, and everywhere. So
He's hurting them all over there.
if you're not going to use any of this, you're coming in here and you're going into there,
Yes.
this isn't going to be disruptive. I understand the original concept and the plan, but why wouldn't we just request this to be asphalted? And then leave this, since it's not, doesn't look like it's part of your project or plan, leave that as it is and just asphalt into here.
That's really part of our request, basically due to the cost of paving and so forth and the length of the contracts.
Not
The-
asphalt
the-
millings, like actually make it a roadway, right? Because we were gonna, it was all gonna be a roadway or asphalt. The original was all asphalt. And now you're requesting just millings but instead of actually having to disrupt the roadway that you're not even gonna use, just make it asphalt into the site.
So that's part of our request. Is to
That
be able
is
to
your
use-
request?
To use the asphalt millings, that's what we're requesting in lieu of asphalt. Basically, the trucks that are going in there and so forth, you put in asphalt, it's gonna beat them up unless you put a pretty substantial section in there. And given the length of the contracts that AEP is letting now and so forth, it'd be a fairly significant investment to put that in as, you know, an asphalt roadway and drive and so forth. That's what we're asking for, is in lieu of asphalt in that section, if we can use just asphalt grindings, which in effect would be fairly similar to having it paved. You've got the asphalt that's already in the stone. As that heats up and gets compacted, it's gonna kind of meld together and make a pretty solid surface in that area. And it's a lot more cost effective to utilize the millings as opposed to putting in an actual asphalt pavement section.
What when you came back here in April, or came here in April, you were planning on proposing a building as well, like a small office
Yeah,
area.
there's a
Is that
small
still
office.
in the
Yes.
plan?
Yep, right in there.
Okay, so there will be parking for individuals who are going to be stationed there.
They're based on the required number of parking for an office trailer, as we've shown. I believe we had 5 spaces
Okay.
shown in there. And that would also be, we're proposing that to be asphalt millings as well.
How do you, if you're not going to utilize the road to the east, or the west,
Mhm.
how do you propose to manage that traffic and ensure none of your vehicles use it?
Well, the only access into the drop yard is right here. So there's no reason for anyone to drive down. Plus, Kent Power, they've got control of their employees. So they would not be utilizing that now. Someone's using it now, correct?
The previous owner who's
Right.
continued use as
Still
is.
owns
Right.
this. So this owner over here is still utilizing this driveway. But the Kent Power vehicles would have no need or no reason to be able to drive down here because the entrance is gonna be right here.
So I read through the BZA minutes, and in the minutes from that meeting, you said that you were planning on being here 10 to 15 years. Is that still the plan?
Well, so when we acquired this property, we had a 10-year contract with a
Okay.
hope for renewal. Since then, AEP's had a new CEO, whole new, multiple levels of new people have come in with a different mindset, and now we are reverse auctioning for work, as opposed to the previous format that had contracts. So our current program now, we don't have a lot of confidence it'll even exist by the end of this year. So we're really unsure about the future volumes of work that we're gonna see compared to when we purchased the property.
Sure, I understand that. I guess speculating a bit here, but if you're not sure you're going to have a contract at the end of the year, are you going to do the project at all?
Yeah, from
I
this
mean, that's a big
perspective-
investment.
From this
The
perspective,
asphalt's not going to make any difference to that investment for if you're going to be gone by the end of the year.
well, we want them limited as much as we can. I don't think we'll be gone by the end of the year, but I don't think 10 years is gonna be, that's a big bet.
So as I look at this, one, I'm sorry you're dealing with AEP. AEP is a great company as a whole, but utilities are a special breed. So I think that we still need the asphalt into the driveway area as the driveway, because that is so close to those other properties, and I understand the concern and the noise that is created when you are not driving on a paved surface. I am fine with the asphalt millings in the parking lot area, because I do think that that helps with better absorption. I don't think you're going to have the issues with gravel and the debris that you would have without it. Plus, then it's better contained, set back. We have the buffers and fencing, so that I could deal with. I think we have to make sure that it's built to a standard that can be there long term, and hopefully, that is with you. If not, and somebody else has the contract, maybe you're able to lease this property out for whoever has the contract. So I think we have to still maintain, that high standard to limit the negative impacts on the neighborhood. So I could probably get by with, the asphalt road drive to that kind of limited area, because I agree it doesn't necessarily make sense to pave the entire thing. what is the traffic volume on, and maybe this is a question for the neighborhood, what is the frequency of traffic going to the west by the existing owner? Yeah, so Robin or whoever. Hey, okay, come up. You know the drill. You got to come up, introduce yourself, give the information. You're on the record.
I'm Robin Dwelly. I'm here representing the West Park Block Watch. There's approximately 5 trucks there a day. It increases. Like right now, if you don't know what they do there, they bring in these tanker trucks that are filled with sugar. They unload them. They go in the
Towers.
in the
Silos. Yeah.
and they store them. Then they unload them and they truck them out. So there's probably 5 trucks in there a day. When it gets November and that, when they're producing, the only people that produce around here, it's all produced out of Michigan, but the only ones in this area is Fremont and Findlay. So then when the fall comes, then there's more truck traffic. But we have one thing that we're all missing here. Are you from Kent, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Oh, hi. They don't own the property. We've never heard from the owners. You do not own the property.
Which property?
The property you're going to put this on.
Yes,
You do?
Yeah, they bought
So
it.
you're Vandalay?
yes,
You're Vandalay.
yes, that's part of it.
Okay, so they're Vandalay, which I don't see Vandalay because when you look at the property deed, it said Vandalay. So I didn't know that that was Kent.
It's operating, the operating company's can.
Okay, that's fine. But according to our codes, when that road is used, but when they transferred, it was grandfathered in. That is a gravel road that's been grandfathered in for 1,000 years by Michigan Sugar. They transferred property deeds. No one ever did the upgrade of putting a road in there. So now we have commercial hauling vehicles using a road, and it should not have been grandfathered in. Before that plat should have been transferred, it should have been paved at that. According to our laws and our zoning things, it says that before it's sold, that it has to be brought up to code. That road should have been brought up to code and before you even purchased it. So now you purchased it, so now it's your baby to deal with, and it should be paved. It's a commercial road, putting asphalt grindings. Even if their employees only use part of it, there's no way we know that Kent is doing all the deliveries. Like, you're gonna get deliveries in there, are you not? Who's bringing in the telephone poles?
Into that yard right there.
Okay, but
Signage we can control.
who's gonna be there? One place it says nobody's gonna be on site hardly. So who's going to control the guys delivering the poles from coming off Logan Avenue and coming up that way and making a left-hand turn to go in there?
Those will be scheduled,
And someone's going to be there.
yes.
But who's to stop them from doing that? We have specific verbiage that says our Vandalay or our Ken employees won't use it, but you say nothing about deliveries.
We can put a sign up to control
Okay.
that.
Well, we're still back to the same thing.
So I think the difference, Robin, is that is not a public roadway. That is a private drive on the property, and so I think that
There's your Ohio code on private drives too. Private drives or not, you still have to maintain signage on it. And private drives.
Oh, no, I'm fine with the signage. I was saying the upgrade to the right
But
of
the
way
upgrade or
standard.
not, according to the paper that it says, when you purchase something,
What
you have to make it.
what code are you referring to?
Well, let me tell you here, just 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay, so in Hancock County, it needs to be brought up to code before closing on a sale. And afterwards, it's the seller's responsibility for addressing the existing code violations. So if that's a road that we're
But
letting,
what section of code are you referencing, though?
okay.
I'm not familiar with this.
This is code requirements. I Googled it and it says in Hancock County. Now just give me a minute,
Okay.
okay? So when we get down to the Ohio Manual Uniform Traffic Traffic Control Devices, the road needs to be maintained to ensure safe and efficient traffic flow, okay? So if that wasn't brought up to standards, if we put concrete grinding in there, that concrete grinding still has metal in it. It's great for flat tires. If concrete grinding was so good, we wouldn't have a tar box. We'd all be in business and using it. We don't use concrete grinding anywhere else in this city. I would love if this goes through, this is great for us poor people, because I'm going to be the biggest fan of everybody put concrete grindings in their parking lot. Everybody put concrete grindings on their entrances, because we now are setting a new standard.
I just, to your point, if we use those anywhere in the city, not on roadways, Robin, but actually at our Public Works campus over here, we actually, a lot of our areas have asphalt grindings because they are efficient, they're more affordable, and it's recycling what we mill up on the roadways. So we do, in fact, over at our Public Works campus, have quite a few areas that are asphalt millings.
Okay.
But-
Since Michigan Sugar is using that road, it's now a public roadway.
That's not correct.
It's not?
Nope, it is still a private agreement within private property. So just like we have a hard time, which is a whole other issue, getting people to maintain their parking lots once they're developed, that is private right-of-way that property is responsible for, and they can have easement agreements civilly between multiple properties to agree on that right-of-way. So that does not make it, though, a public right-of-way. It has to be public right-of-way by an easement agreement and dedication to a public entity.
Okay. Well, I guess I was a little concerned who was going to be bonded for this. I'm even more concerned now because, first of all, when it went through zoning, they all agreed, no, we're going to pave. And now you guys are going to walk over zoning and say, oh, heck with zoning. We don't care what zoning thinks. We're going to let them do whatever they want now. My whole thing was, I was worried about who was going to, if Kent keeps representing themselves and never had Findlay even anywhere on the specs. Actually, the specs came through with Michigan Sugar on it, and our meeting was on the 11th, and you actually closed on the 10th. So I think that's sort of fraudulent representing that Michigan Sugar was still part of the deal, because they weren't. Michigan Sugar is a good neighbor. They always have been. Their yard is mowed. Findlay has not mowed 1 inch of their yard there yet at all. It's high, it's overgrown, but Michigan still maintains theirs. So we don't think they're going to be a good neighbor. They're already shown not to be a good neighbor. When they left here the last time, we were all fuzzy feeling, and oh, this will work, this will work. Then in November, we can't afford to. We're broke. We can't afford to. Now, you're so proud of this being the gateway to our community. Now we're going to put a temporary lay down there. What happens? Do we get I know we have a performance bond on the sewer and the water. Do we get a performance bond on this fencing and that? What happens when they go broke halfway through and can't finish this? Who puts this back? This is a gateway, and we're going to have a pile of stone there, and we're going to have somebody broke halfway through the thing that can't even finish the project.
Appreciate your feedback, Robin.
There's more, I'm sure, but
Yeah, no, I get it. I appreciate the concerns, and
I look back there where that little white dot where that red line is. There's more traffic than just the truck traffic. There's cars using it every day back there.
Sir, can you state your name?
My name's Gary Cook. I live at 1226 and half Logan Avenue,
Thank you.
rear.
thank you.
That's a little white dot where the red line is.
So the traffic that you're referring to, are those primarily the Pioneer Sugar folks going back over there?
There's like 5 or 6 trucks in summertime. A lot of the guys, I got them to slow down. Those other ones that come through, it's not with them, it's R&R, and they fly through there doing 35 miles an hour. Now, why are they doing that back there? When you got people out there cooking on the grill, I can't open my windows, and when the wind comes out of the east, I get all the dust and dirt. And they're going to lay blacktop grinding down. There's dust in that too, especially when you bring trucks. If you go out to the golf course and rent a golf cart, you got dust from that black grinding they use out on the trails. So don't tell me there's no dust and grinding when you drive over it, because it is. So I
Yeah.
disagree with what they're saying. They're going to bring trucks in. When they unload it, they're not going to do it in that little square, because Pioneer uses that truck route too. So they're going to have to go in that dirt lot and park it. So they got to come down past that line where they said they're going to not drive, because you can't unload that 80-foot, 70-foot trailer with all those poles on it. You got to have a forklift in there. You got to go on the road. I'm sorry, I disagree. It should be paved.
So to be clear, though, they're coming in. There's only one entrance to the laydown yard, so they're not gonna just be in the parking area. They would go into the laydown yard. This parking area is just for employees that would be in the management office building that they're planning.
Yeah,
to-
but the semi's got to go on past that line, to unload it. They can't bring the semi in there and unload it and try to back it out of that lot. Unless that lot's big enough to turn an 80-foot trailer.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
this is a very large
Yeah.
area.
All right, you still gotta go past the line where they're not gonna pave it.
No, because there's only one in and out, so they're gonna, it would all be contained
fenced.
inside. So they would be within the laydown area, they're not gonna be on this main road.
You still got you still got a stone pad back there where they're gonna stir it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you saying that they can't come up the road, make a left-hand turn to park in the parking area? They can't come up the road and make a left-hand turn there?
Yeah, within that area,
They
not
gotta make
on
a
the
right
roadway.
turn, it can't be a left.
You can't tell me. So this is Logan Avenue. So they get off Logan Avenue, they come up here. What keeps them from turning this way to go in there to unload? Oh, this is the ideal one off to the off the route.
Gotcha. I understand what you're saying.
What keeps them from coming up here and turning there?
They technically could. I appreciate the clarification.
And we have nobody on site, according to their records, to monitor who comes and goes out of that way. So a carrier that realizes what a pain in the butt turning off that roundabout is, they're gonna use Logan Avenue every time.
I appreciate the clarification. I was misunderstanding. I thought you were talking about the ability to turn within the laydown
No.
yard. Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, da-da-da-da.
Yeah. They would be able to dictate where those deliveries have to come in from. And I believe a majority of them are probably gonna be coming on 75, correct?
Yes,
So
they'll
they'll be
be
getting off right there.
scheduled, they'll be planned, you know, we can, give maps to the drivers, you know.
Yeah, and we do that at a couple of other locations in town where they have to come in and out certain locations. My only problem is that's typically on conditional use, not on site plans. And so it's a little easier for us to hold folks accountable once that occurs.
So
That's my biggest, one of my concerns here too, is that this isn't a conditional use, and we're not gonna be in a position to play traffic cop 10 years down the line if somebody else is using the road in a way that we don't want them to, or that you've said that they're not going to.
We don't have easement access on that Michigan Sugar property. They only have access through our property.
You don't have reciprocal access.
You never can drive. up that
Robin,
road.
let's not start back and forth. We're asking the questions now. If you have something else you'd like to say, you can come up and say it respectfully. Now I forgot my question. Oh, so you're talking about the easement agreement. Have you spoke with Pioneer Sugar about them providing support for the improvements to that roadway?
Yeah, their opinion is it's our property now.
Yeah. Have you considered just cutting off access to them then?
Do they have an easement through there?
They do.
They do?
Yeah.
And cutting off that roadway would force them to go through the neighborhood constantly.
Yeah.
To go
Which
right
is-
through.
And
Logan
that would be
Avenue.
negative.
Yeah, right.
So this is a conditional use for an outdoor storage because it is a lay-down yard, so it is storage. So this is conditional.
Okay.
I got a couple questions. The storage area that you're looking at was, what was it, 200,000 square feet? 230?
230,000, yeah.
On your application, it made note to 303. Is that the entire site or what?
I would have to verify. Yeah, the 303 would be the entire fenced-in area.
The entire fenced in, oh, okay, because you're taking the fence clear up to the right of way, right?
Not quite to the right of way. Taking the fence up to there.
Oh, up to there.
Yeah. So that would be the entire fenced area.
But I thought the fenced area was the darker shaded
It is,
green.
this area here.
Okay.
If it's
What-
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Dave, you-
What is the intent in the darker shaded area? Is that bringing in gravel to build that up, or is it utilizing the existing base that's there?
No, we would be bringing in material
Okay. But that would be just regular gravel then?
in the west portion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if it's a conditional use for the outdoor storage, I think I'd feel comfortable saying, I'm gonna steal this real quick, that we can control the new traffic through signage and not have to pave this area. I think I could get my head around that, because that's not changing the existing traffic flow. The new area, this is dying, but I think I'm a proponent of this needs to be paved, and then the parking area needs to be paved as well. It's a parking area for office employees, for the office area. That needs to be paved. That's consistent with what else is in the city.
So you would like to see this section paved and then up to the parking spaces?
Yep, the parking area, yep. Now, where you have the actual laydown area that you had proposed originally using stone, you're not proposing any change with that, and
Correct.
that would be fine. That would be where my head's at.
I
Okay.
agree on the parking being paved. I think I want to see the full road be asphalt grindings, because I'm sorry that you're the one having to deal with this, but I think this is an opportunity to get that improved to a standard that is more cohesive with the neighborhood. So I wouldn't want the full thing completely paved. I'd be fine with it being the asphalt grindings, because I do see that and it does bond well. Where I think that it's gonna be not as cost prohibitive for you, but still achieve what we were trying to achieve here. So I would wanna see the roadway, that whole section as asphalt grindings, the parking lot paved, and then the remainder is gravel,
So
as we
that-
talked about. And I would still like the signage to limit the traffic that way.
So the only change from the original approved site plan would be on the road west of the entrance. Yep, that could be asphalt grindings, and then there'd be additional signage.
Yes.
Yep, I'm on board with that.
Has any of the landscape buffer been completed yet along the
No,
south side?
nothing's
We
been
haven't
done.
Not
started
yet,
anything
okay.
yet.
So that's still part of the plan?
Yeah, it's still part of the plan.
So when you look at the impact to the residents, it's gonna be an asphalt, millings for that new area, and then they've got the landscaping berm as well. It should be,
Landscaping buffer should
yeah,
help
should be
a little bit.
an improvement over what's happening currently,
Yeah,
at least from a screening standpoint.
because it's kind of what, I think a 3-foot berm.
If
you've got a
got a
comment,
comment, come on down.
You just gotta introduce yourself, sir.
That berm's closer to 5 to 6 feet.
Okay.
5 to 6 feet, thanks.
Couldn't remember.
Jim Welly, I'm here with Robin, part of the Block Watch, and a gentleman back here concerning the traffic down this road that we're not gonna pave now. I think that's where this is all heading to. And standing here looking at this to alleviate maybe their neighbor's concern for, which I think is legitimate, there's nobody gonna police that, it's gonna be busy road down there. We can all kind of pretend like it isn't, but it's gonna be, but if you look at the plans where you come off of Lima Avenue and alleged only way is in and out. See where I'm talking about? Maybe I can. Maybe alleviate the concerns in the neighborhood. I see no reason for this road to be flared out this way if there's only in, only out. Why is the road driveway flared in? Let's bring that around. Fence, bollard post, make this impervious for turning that way.
Yeah,
Which, all these people down here will help their just problems. I know people are gonna start using it if they can. I mean, that's, hit it as sand, you don't think that's not gonna happen.
Well, and I think the more you improve it, the more likely it'll probably be used too.
but there's nothing, I mean, if you go further west, you've got the Sugar Towers, and then you can then connect back to Logan Avenue, right? But there's nothing else that is back there that would drive traffic other than Michigan Sugar, right? Not that I know of.
People taking the wrong streets.
Mr. Welly, could you speak into the microphone?
Yeah, I think my only concern with modifying the driveway access is on the rare chance that there is one coming in and one coming out at the same time with a semi truck. You want to kind of swing out to the right to then turn.
Yes, but this drive, as we're speaking now, is only for the sugar beet. We're not gonna pave it. The new people are not using it. It's strictly for them, and they're coming off Lima Avenue in. Lyman Avenue out, why is it convenience in the plans that they can make the turn? I don't understand that.
I'd be curious your guys' opinion of that. Is that do you think that'd be an issue from a traffic perspective?
It was just put in as a standard drive approach with no issue modifying that to basically straighten up that western edge of it so that it's not flared.
In your busy times, what's the frequency of trucks? Like when you have a lot of inventory coming in or leaving, what's that look like when you're busy?
You know, it's beginning and end of the day.
Okay.
I mean, type of a thing where somebody might be leaving the yard
Speak
before.
into the
Could,
microphone.
yeah, if you don't speak in the microphone, it doesn't pick up on the tape.
Sorry, it's probably just beginning and end of the day when two different or lunchtime, you know,
Shift
and
change.
some are coming in and some are leaving. But aside from that, it should always be, you know, generally one direction. And when it is, you know, even in those times, it's going to be very minimal. We're not talking about, you know, many trucks at a time.
But it's still wide enough for two-way traffic. You're saying just directionally
Yeah, that's fine, totally fine.
drive it towards
Totally fine.
Lima. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What would be your traffic hauling your products in and out or your materials in and out for your construction? Is that going to be fairly heavy traffic, you know, for your getting your poles out to your sites where you're working and all?
Yeah, it just depends on the volume of work that we're doing in the area and how many crews we have at a time, which generally is, you know, anywhere from 2 to 6 maybe crews. So we're
Okay.
not talking a lot of people or a lot of trucks.
And most of that would be early morning coming in, getting the materials and heading out.
Yeah, and most of our equipment we leave on site, you know, in the right of way throughout the week. You know, we did just have almost $1 million crane stolen off of right of way in Columbus here last month that you can look up online. So we are, you know, probably weekends we'll probably return as much as we can.
Much of the bucket trucks and all that at
Yes.
the weekends. Other than that, it's
Yes.
mostly out during the week.
Yeah, you wouldn't think a 60-ton crane would be hard to, you know, just drive off with, but
Was there other comments from the audience on this?
No, I have.
Yep, come forward.
Like I said, when we came, we felt good. You weren't the representative. There was a younger guy here. Felt good. All this kumbaya. Oh, welcome to the neighborhood. You're going to pave. You're going to make our neighborhood better. It's the entrance too. You were even concerned about the entrance with what it would look like coming off the ramp without the thing. And we do still have the lighting and the landscaping all in place because I think that the original blueprints were wrong because it had the markings over to the property owners that was gifted. I don't know that that was right, but that's here nor there. My whole thing is we make acceptance for these people. Every neighbor is opposed to not paving that road. I spoke with everyone. Everyone is it. We've already had our letter submitted to them from the last time that they were opposed not to paving when November flew around. I do not think this meeting can be concluded today because we've had a big change today. First of all, I came in here fighting for 10-year to 15-year is not a temporary thing, according to Ohio. When it says a temporary laid down, what Ohio code says, it's 1 to 5 years. So I was going to say this is going to be permanent, so that's all the more reason to pave if it was going to be 10 years. Now that we know this is just a 1-year pain in the butt for our neighborhood, I don't want it there at all. I don't think any of the other neighbors will. And I'm sure I can convince them if they don't want to be convinced. I'm sure that they can be convinced. My whole thing is we make allowances. We make allowances. He's telling us they're only going to come in there. I'll tell you one thing. As soon as any semi-driver sees how easy it is to come up that road from Logan Avenue and make a left-hand turn and go into your facilities, that's what they're going to do. They're not going to mess with that roundabout. We're going to have all kinds of mud and stone and all that stuff drug from your trucks onto our roundabout, which we already have problems with. There's an accident there all the time. We already have problems with it. I don't think, unless it's paved, I don't think we want this in our neighborhood. I don't think that this committee, since you're throwing zoning under the bus and telling zoning, we don't care about what you think. Zoning made a ruling in November, and you're telling zoning, tough shit, I shouldn't have said that. Tough crap, you don't want that. We're not listening to you. We're making our own decisions. I think since you're throwing zoning under the bus, you're setting a whole new standard of what is and what is not allowed in this neighborhood or in this city. And like, I'm gonna go buy tar box, I think, because I'm gonna make grindings. I'm gonna get myself rich, I think, off this. I don't think this meeting can be concluded if that's going to be your final decisions. The last time I was in here and spoke for our neighborhood about you guys making concessions, it was for the welding place. And then there was something, it was the sandblasting, the welding on Olney and that you put in our neighborhood. I'll tell you, there's nobody there to police it. You're not gonna be there to police it. You're not gonna stop them drivers from coming up Logan Avenue. What happens when they're not there? Who's going to police this? Are you gonna go out and check on it? Do we have anybody to police these trucks coming in and out of there? Who polices it? Who polices it after a year? And we've got a big hunk of concrete laid down there for one end, and a big hunk of concrete laid here, and then we got all this other stuff. Who are you gonna put it back to normal use when you leave in a year? You gotta return it back to its normal state?
I think the access, we're talking about directionally setting the drive up, it's gonna be almost impossible then for them to come the other direction to access that way.
I don't know why they couldn't come up and make it up there. What I'm saying is, we keep making concessions for these people. We're gonna get property tax from these people no matter what. They own the property. We got their property tax. We have their employees work in a 50-mile radius. We're not gonna get their money. We're not gonna get off their paychecks. Had the same thing out on Olive Avenue. An associate of my husband, a longtime businessman, guess what? Put up $1 million building probably. Out in nowhere land. He ran short on, he fell on burdensome time. That's what the word is in our thing. Burdensome. It's burdensome for them to pave. He asked not to pave. He asked to use it. Guess what? He had to pave it. Why? That's out on Olive Avenue, way out in the almost country. Nobody did it. And nobody would budge for that guy who is a longtime business owner and his employees contribute to our city income tax with their things. We have someone from outside coming in, asking for a favor to disrupt our roundabout, to disrupt our neighborhood, and we're gonna make an allowance. And we have nobody there to police it. The last time you guys made it an allowance, it was for the parking area at this welding shop. First of all, they spent a year laughing at you and doing whatever they wanted. And then after a year, we came back and Matt finally got them under control. It was supposed to have 7 parking places. And Mayor, you're like, that seems excessive. Let's let them have 4. They have 4 parking places. Who monitors that parking? Nobody. It's right there. It's not my job to monitor it. Out of their 4 parking places, this is how they use it. 2 of the vehicles don't move, and one's a neighbor, and it don't move. So out of their 4 parking places, they have 1 parking places. This is how we make and bend the rules for people, and they crap on you. They don't follow the rules, and there's nobody to police them. There's black and white copies. The color one's easier to see.
All right. So, Robin, I think we understand your position on this. However, I would point out that on those prior ones, that there was both support from the neighborhood as well as some concerns, and we did specifically state that it was a conditional use, and if complaints were received, we could reevaluate. So if you would like to submit complaints, you need to do that at that time to those specific things. We're not gonna put that frustration on a different situation.
I understand.
Nope, I'm still speaking, Robin. So when we look at this, though, one of the main concerns that we heard the last time this came, that is the truck traffic that is using this roadway currently, regardless of whether he improves it or not. So what we are able to do is establish a landscaping buffer with a berm of 5 feet, a fence, plantings on top of that, and if he doesn't make these improvements, then you don't get that, and you still get the impact from that roadway. So it is a huge benefit for this project to move forward and create that buffer for those properties so that you are getting less dust, you're getting a noise barrier, and you're getting the landscaping buffer, which looks much nicer than looking across a field, a gravel area, into the highway. So when we're looking at investments in our community, we certainly are accounting for the financial investment our people are using, the property rights that they get when they're making an investment in that, and then how do we make it harmonious with the neighborhood? The reality is that this is a commercially and kind of industrially zoned property next to an extremely busy highway, and it is not going to be conducive to other types of investments. So how do we now work with that property owner to make sure that they are getting the highest and best use out of their property while also benefiting the community as a whole and lessening impacts to the neighborhood? Those are all of the different things we're looking at. So yes, we could simply say, you know what, you're not going to pave this road, that's fine. Well, now you're going to still have that other truck traffic. You're not going to get a landscaping buffer. You're not going to get this investment in the neighborhood. And who knows what else could go there. And they could say, yeah, you know what, we meet the code to put an industrial operation there. And we don't actually, we can pave that road, sure, but it's going to be a lot more disruptive than a laydown yard. And unfortunately, this man is now in a position where he is trying to make a long-term investment in his property, and the rug's being pulled out from under him because AEP is saying, we may not commit to you long-term. So we need to balance, how do we get improvement to the neighborhood, to this property, while also not making somebody be in a position where then he cannot make any improvement. So I appreciate your feedback, and we definitely are taking all of those things into consideration, but we also have to look at the broader picture and the dominoes that could fall if we don't try to make a good investment while we have an opportunity of a known thing. If he moves forward and isn't able to make these investments, then we're back to square one, and then we can have a dirt road or a gravel road that's creating dust and noise that we have no ability to control, and it can sit there for 30 years and be an open field because he really doesn't, when it's not developed, have to maintain it. So we can do that, but who does that benefit?
Well, it wouldn't disrupt our wildlife, which it's going to do now, which is upsetting to the neighbors. But I guess, since we were already talking about hardships and burdensomes, do we get a performance bond when they leave this place like this? Do we get a performance bond on this?
Performance to do what specifically?
A performance to restore it. So what's going to happen when he bellies
Restore it
up?
to an open field?
Yeah.
So-
What's going to happen when he bellies up and we have half a fence, no landscaping, and piles of stone back there? What happens then? Who goes cleans that mess up then?
So the engineer's not here. He's the one that deals with any bonding when construction would occur. However, as long as it's complying with our zoning ordinance for open space, he really doesn't have any restrictions. So
Again-
I understand your concern.
Again, I'm concerned because now we have a guy just coming in, disrupting things for a year, maybe two. It sure isn't the same as having, we were excited about having somebody there 10 to and
I
maybe
think that's-
15 years.
that's
We
what
were
he's hoping
excited.
for, too.
But in this 1 year thing, I think there's better places already fitted. Even across the road, there's a better place for you, buddy. But I don't think it's a good fit for our neighborhood. I don't like it. And I think it's a really sad day that we're throwing zoning under the bus and telling those people they don't know what they're talking
To be
about.
clear, that's
Yeah,
not
that's-
what's happening here. Zoning sent it back to us because we were the ones that put the conditions and said
Zoning
we
said
can't.
it had to be paved. Is not true?
We said it had
We
to
said
be
it.
paved.
And but
And then
when they
he
asked,
appealed, and
they
the
said
Board
no.
of Zoning Appeals said, you need to go back to Planning Commission because we look at the full site.
you've
And if-
already
if
made
you-
up your
if
mind.
you read
Thank
the-
you for your
If
time.
you read the minutes from the BZA, their reasoning for the denial for the appeals was because City Planning Commission made it a condition. And they were specific.
And as Eric also stated earlier, this is for the laydown area, technically a conditional use. So we can set the standards, and if we begin to have a lot of problems, then we can come back and pull their conditional use and force them to make the improvement. So right now, we can say, make the driveway, the actual asphalt and the parking lot. then do the asphalt grinding, which to be clear is asphalt grindings, not concrete grindings. Asphalt grindings are used in parking lots and things. You don't want to use it for kind of your standard. It's not as aesthetically pleasing, but it serves the same purpose, and it has to be repaired more frequently. But I think doing the asphalt is actually going to be a significant improvement along there, which again, given it's not for his primary use, I think makes sense. We'll still get the landscaping buffer, we'll still get the planting, we'll still get the fence, we're still gonna have the plantings along the different gateway areas. We can clean up we want signage for the drivers. We want to adjust the drive lane to encourage going back out to Lima rather than through the neighborhood. And those are all the things that I'm hearing. And then the gravel could be maintained in the laydown yard. And sir, I will jump to you since you're standing there patiently.
Thank you. You say you're trying to light that entranceway for trucks, correct?
I'm sorry, say that again.
All right, so you're coming off Lima Avenue
Yep.
into that driveway. It's made for one truck right now. So in order to make it wider, you gotta eliminate the fence on the right side. That's already up on the state. In order to get two trucks in and out of there, and you have to make it wide enough so they can make a wide turn. So now you're coming back into the roundabout halfway and make that entrance wider. So the roundabout's gonna have to change too.
No.
We're not talking about making a wider.
Well,
No,
the entrance is,
Trucks currently use that as
We're
it
not
is.
talking
it's
about
it's
making
only
this
wide enough for
wider.
one truck in.
Talking about as the trucks
Come in,
enter the site, then they go to the laydown yard, and when they exit, this will direct them this way. So right here where this is kind of flared out, that's going to be directed back towards this way so that the trucks coming in and out of the laydown yard can only exit to Lima Avenue.
so you're guaranteed the truck's not gonna come in the other way off of Lima because he missed his turn. Because he ain't gonna be able to turn around unless he goes clear down to the state garage or the county garage to turn that truck around. Because unless he goes down Logan Avenue and tries to make that turn, and he's gonna wipe out some poles and water hydrant, because those poles ain't gonna make that corner there either. So you gotta decide which way these trucks are gonna come in, and you're gonna have good signage, and you gotta make sure they don't go out the other way when they're empty. Because I've seen it do it the last time they had poles out there.
Well, we
They come
cer-
in both ways.
Yep, so
We
that's,
certainly don't want to take them down Logan Avenue, though.
No.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Those truckers gonna use what they can to get over that yard, and if they think they can make that right turn right there at the Perry out.
You have a harder time making the
I
turn
know
on the
you
Logan
would.
Avenue.
Yes, I know you would. But
Yep.
that trucker don't know it until he makes that turn.
so we're gonna work with the company to have signage. Additionally, these are scheduled deliveries, so you can do dispatching where you provide the route. Now, that doesn't always mean that people are gonna do that, but just like we do with every other situation, we have to, again, Logan is a public roadway.
I know that.
So
I didn't
we,
say
we,
that.
we gotta balance those. We can't ticket someone for going on a roadway just because we don't like them there. But we will work to do this. And again, too, the other problem is hopefully the improved access here, which we are making an improvement to the roadway, will get folks going to the Pioneer Sugar Tower, try to get them going that way as well.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Keep in mind, this is also an industrial zoning, so there are a lot more intrusive types of uses that could go into that same space. If any of you've lived there long enough, you've experienced when it was the sugar beet plant, the storage and all that went with that. So I don't see this as, while there will be some traffic, I don't see it as being a real obtrusive use in an industrial area.
Eric, did you have something?
Yeah, so after conferring with the law director here, Mr. Feitner, because this is a deviation from the code still, it does have to go back to BZA for the parking to be grindings.
To be clear, we're saying the
Parking.
parking we want to
It's
be
paved.
paved.
So the ingress egress part, it would have to have a variance with it. So it would have to go back to,
That's asphalt too.
The ingress egress off.
We want that
Sorry.
all asphalt grinding.
This is all asphalt.
Yes.
And then the road running, the
West.
gravel road right now would be grindings.
grindings,
Are we,
yeah.
that's right, that's what we've been
That's kinda
talking
what we're
about, right?
thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, so grindings is not yeah, it is hard, but it's not asphalt and concrete. So that still would need the variance to allow for that. They still have to obtain the variance.
Yep.
Well, but we made the exception the first time that was to be
They could
paved.
Remain as
Yeah,
is.
and that's why they went back to the Board of Zoning
Right.
Appeals, is to appeal that decision. But now the condition's being put on that they can do it as grindings, so lock that in. They still have to go back to the Board of Zoning Appeals because it is a deviation from the code
Okay.
to lock that in. So it's,
Yep, that's fine. It's the process. All right, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the site plan with the following conditions. Now, the landscaping, photometrics, berm, fencing, all are consistent with the prior approval. The only modifications would be is that from the Lima Ave to the west side of the driveway would be asphalt. The employee parking lot would be asphalt. The laydown yard would be gravel. And then the area west of the driveway access point would be asphalt grindings. And that there would be signage for the route. And you guys know better the routes and how that should be laid out, but to encourage the in and out off of Lima. And then tighten up the drive access to the main road to encourage that kind of right in, left out to Lima. Did I cover everything?
I think so.
I believe so.
Okay, is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second. Any additional comments? All right,
To do, so.
yep. All right, with that, Matt, whenever you're ready.
Mayor Murin,
Aye.
Rob Martin,
Aye.
Carrie Trombley,
Aye.
Jackie Schroeder,
Aye.
Dan Klinger.
Aye.
All right, I appreciate everybody's time. Seeing there are no other items on our agenda, this meeting is adjourned at 10 a.m. spot on.
That's our, that's, we were just waiting to see if we're gonna do anything. That was all. But once we're here, we'll do everything we can to be.
I know past my property, halfway out there.